Hello, I'm Glenn Tobey, and I welcome you to Spring Forest Qigong's Heart Wisdom Talks. This has been a series of monthly talks, usually in a dialogue form, in a conversational form, where we bring in other Spring Forest Qigong professionals to share their perspective on various topics surrounding this overall view of what is heart wisdom. But so, as things cannot always work out as you always plan, there's a couple of glitches, over this process today. So today, instead of my interviewing someone else, I'm going to be interviewing myself. So there'll be two of you, or two of me, or two of something. So maybe when I ask my other self a question or two, maybe my other self will know a whole lot more than what I may know. So take your pick, whatever one you wish to listen to. But I do welcome you to settle yourself in to the ideas behind the heart wisdom, even for your own self, thinking, what is heart wisdom for yourself? And then what does that mean? So here it's the end of December 2022, and the title I was using is on the healing plan. So oftentimes when we'll go to other professionals, medical people or whatever, they usually can come up with like a treatment plan. Even if you take your car to a mechanic, there's kind of like, here's a treatment plan. Here's what I need to do to help you with your car. So then that mechanic or the physician, whoever instigating the treatment plan, then goes forth and does what he or she knows how to do. So the idea of us having our own health plan as opposed to a treatment plan is a topic I want to expand on in the time that I have before you. So the healing plan is, what can I do? How can I participate in activating the health of my own self, pulling on resources from other people? So one way I look at a healing plan, it's not something to change the world directly. However, it is a method or a way of looking at kind of healing yourself so that you may have an impact on the world in maybe a different healing way. So almost as if then you have a healing plan for the world. The way I illustrate this healing plan is here in the States, in the northern part of our hemisphere, we're into winter. In Duluth, Minnesota, where I live and work, 150 miles north of Minneapolis, and we've had about 45 inches of snow over the last few weeks or so with high winds. It's not been unusual for other parts of the States. However, it has been certainly impactful, on my local community. So the way I look at the weather is we can't stop, the blizzard that was upon us and other things that happened. We can't stop the blizzard from coming, or we can't stop the cold weather from coming, or wherever you may live, you can't stop the weather from coming. But what you can do is prepare yourself when the weather does come. What is it that I can do that I can help myself deal with whatever comes my way? So the simple way that I explain it is, if the cold is coming, for me, what I have learned to do over these years is I put a coat on. Now I feel warmer. If the wind blows, it gets more cold. I put on a hat. If the wind is more severe, the cold is deeper in its reach, I put on a scarf, or I put on gloves, or I put on things that, I'm trying to learn how to work on what is happening to me. I may even get 2 cups of coffee, one to drink to heat my inside world, and the other is to put my hands in to get my fingers thawed out. But you see all those thoughts, profound ones, and silly ones, are all what? What can I do when the world impacts me? What is it that I can do when the weather impacts me? Put my coat on, put a hat on, put a scarf on, all those kind of things, in one sense, that I'm prepared to do without sitting around, moaning and complaining about the weather. I want to change the weather. I want to change this. I want to change that world out there. well, not saying good luck, but it's more profound if your focus is on what can I do when the weather is reaching into my life, into my world. What are the best things that bring me a sense of safety, a sense of well-being, a sense of warmth, so to speak. So I'm finding ways to do that. So like in the rest of the world, you might have noticed that the world is a little crazy, not just recently, but only for a few thousand years or so. So how do I not go around? I want to change the world. What's wrong with the world first? When the world is impacting me on a certain way, just like the weather, what is it that I can do that can heal myself when I feel not so healthfully impacted by the terrors of the world, the confusions of the world? So then I have formulas, I have things to do in order to work on my own healing plan when the world, touches me, when the hatred or the anger or the outburst or whatever it may be, the confusion, the complexity, the sadness, all those things, when those things get into me, you know, I've been working on finding a way in which I know then how to react and how to work on my own inner world, my own healing plan. And then perhaps if my healing goes well, if I'm more in harmony with my own well being, my own strength, my own wisdom, my own love for others, then in that case, then maybe then I can make an impact on the world too, rather than only waiting for the world to change. So, looking for yourself about the healing plan. What are the things that happen to you? What are the things that impact you? In what way do they impact you? And then do you have a way of healing yourself? Working on coming back to a more peaceful place inside yourself, coming back to more positive and clear understanding of who you are and what you are. Oftentimes I've talked about, Master Lynn certainly has talked about, the purpose. So like when the world impacts us, part of it is we get to get lost a little bit. Maybe we go away from our purpose. So part of the healing plan is finding a way, my healing plan is to do this. Oh, my healing plan is to do this. Oh, I feel better. Now I'm back to my healing plan. I'm back to restoring myself. So think for a little bit, or if you're taking a little bit of notes or something or later on, and take a look at this idea of having a healing plan. Things that you do or you know that you could do, or maybe things that you can learn to do in order to come back to yourself so that your persona, the who you are, has that impact on the world. I don't know about you, but I know, when I get kind of grumpy, when I get kind of, internal, so to speak, I know it impacts the lives of other people. So how am I responsible, not so much for the other, how they take it, but really for my own well-being? How can I be aware of my own grumpiness? Oh, it's because of this or because of that. I have to learn to, take care of my own well-being so that I do have an impact on others. Now, some of you who know me a little bit, I like to be playful or tell some jokes or, those kinds of things. So one of the little things that I did, just the other day, actually, I've done it before, so it's not like a brand new thing. But I was in a restaurant, and a family of four came in, and I was just getting up, settling my chair in, and I wanted to move my chair in so that other person, that was going to use the other chair and the other table could have more room to get to them. So then the woman said to me, she says, oh, no, you're fine, implying what, I don't have to move the chair. But see, in my playfulness, a little bit of my good-heartedness, I said to her, oh, could you write that down on the note that I'm fine? And then you could sign it with at least your first name. And then I would have a sheet of paper to show other people when they think I'm crazy. Then I can say, oh no, I'm fine. See, this wonderful, smart woman says I'm fine. So for me, a little lightheartedness, right? And, she laughed and she understood what the playfulness of those words and that action, right? So I'm hoping that little playfulness, please write me a note that says I'm fine, that she goes, oh, and I'll write you a note. Yes, yes, yes. Just that playfulness about life, right? So when you're in better sorts inside yourself, you open yourself up, you open your heart up to that wisdom of that connecting to other people as well as from your own heart. You could easily say, what? Hey, let me sit down first, or be real grumpy, or be really, unkind, so to speak. Much rather what? The healing plan is being able then to respond to what is occurring in your life and finding a way back to yourself in order to interface with the rest of the world. So I really like that idea of a healing plan. A little while ago, I wrote a little story about apple pie recipe, and what I was trying to write down for my own understanding, but in sharing it with others and now with you, is like a story of Master Lin, or the story was about some master chef who produced a apple pie recipe that was really the best. And so if you follow the ingredients and follow the directions of this apple pie recipe, you will get the very best apple pie you've ever tasted. So I think about Master Lin and his teachings of Spring Forest Qigong. In a way, he has an apple pie recipe that says, I'm going to teach you the very best. If you follow the recipe, if you follow these ingredients, if you do these kinds of things, you will have the very best life. Now, I don't know about you, but I know about me. I can't always do the best. I can't always, either because of this or because of that or whatever. So that's why I'm sure Master Lin talks about good, better, and best. But then always when we do good, when we do something better, we always know we can get to that place. It's available to us, maybe in a part of that healing plan. It's available for us to do the best. So when I'm doing good and it's not working as well, so to speak, I realize there are ways in which to improve upon what I do in taking care of myself, so to speak, doing it better, or doing it as Master Lin would teach us, to do it the best. I'm sure Master Lin doesn't require us to do every single thing and every action and belief and thought in our life as the best. That's why he brings in what, for people like me and maybe for you, okay, Glenn, you can do good and you can do this better. But always that hope or that connection that I can if I work at it longer. So then I develop those habits. I joke about I have bad habits. Why I have them is because I practice them. So then I'm learning how not to practice my bad habits. So that apple pie recipe, so the Master Lin teachings is I'm learning how to practice the best more and more often, practicing the best more and more often. And sometimes I have to settle for better, and sometimes I have to settle for good, and sometimes I have to settle for, well, not so bad, just being human. So to look at that, best, that connection to the best. And then really it's what? You see how you're connected to the heart wisdom at a higher level of understanding. So Master Lin is teaching us the heart wisdom of connecting to life, understanding life at a higher level. And it does take practice. It does take, that understanding. It does take that letting go of things that hold us down. It does take us ways in which to activate our unconditional love so that we're not holding on to things. Forgiveness is letting go. I've had this image in my head for a long time of an osprey, a beautiful like eagle-like bird. If you've ever seen one, it'll swoop down on the lake and pick up a fish and then, and say, oh, good, I got lunch, or I bring this back to my babies. If the fish is too big, the osprey doesn't always let go of it. And sometimes the osprey is brought down to the lake. Not a good conclusion. So holding on to things, so to speak, that are too heavy for us is not good for us. So this idea of what's good, what's better, and what's the best. How can we go about it in a way that's really healthful and purposeful? So important. So I'm sorry that my phone is ringing. I thought I disconnected it, but oops, good, better, and best, right? Good, better, and best. We'll just go from there. So, but this idea that about the higher wisdom, if you ever take an airplane ride, right? You're flying at 3,000 feet, you're looking down at the earth and you're going, oh, wow. So the sadness and the torment of life is there. But from a higher level, you understand it better. You know how to react to it better. So this idea of always keeping in mind the access to doing something the best. Master Lin has figured out a really incredible way of having a beautiful life. So the idea of having a healing plan using techniques or practices that give you that healing, looking at life from a richer, deeper understanding also creates that depth of learning and the depth of life. Now, I work as a psychotherapist as well as doing the Spring Forest Qigong, teachings and things like that. So a number of weeks ago, this is a slightly altered story, but for the sake of sharing the point, so to speak, a couple, two people were referred in to see me from another company that were just out of control. And this person knows I like out of control situations. So they come in, they were just incredibly angry. I've never met them before, but they sat down on my couch. They were yelling at me. They were accusing me of all sorts of things that I never did, never was a part of, other than saying I was responsible for the misery of the world and their misery and what's wrong with me, and how come I'm such a terrible person, blah, blah. It went on for, quite a while. I know how over all these years, how to sit a little bit quietly. Maybe they'll calm down. Maybe they'll figure out something. Maybe I can get a word in or not. But after that kind of almost a verbal assault, then they got up and stormed out of my office and onward. But I found that their words, their kind of mean and vicious words got into me. And then over the next few hours or so, my head was, well, here's what I should have said to them. And here's what I could have said to them. And here's how I could have acted. And here's what, because those words that I took in and held were creating a vocabulary of revenge. You think you can verbally assault me? Well, I'll show you. I know a lot of words where I can get back at you. So it took me like a day or more to kind of rework the words that got into me. So the healing plan. So I had to rework the words. What are the words that I would like to use toward these two people? What words would be healing inside me and not so much revenge or viciousness or duplicating the pain that this couple was demonstrating? So I realized, maybe all of us, not just myself, all of us are involved either in relationships or situations in life that really get into us. We get verbally assaulted. Sometimes we're physically assaulted or other things happen. Almost the same thing. What are the words that we now have in our mind or in our brain? How we want to respond to the event or to the other person, sometimes to our partner. And usually when the anger hits or those kind of words hit, the words we have that we want to use are not that pleasant, are they? So I tell you, the truth that, it took me a day to rework the words that I want to say to these two people. It's no different than when my wife and I have a disagreement or anything else in the world. I really work at what are the words I wish to say. My mere mortal status is I want to say these words instead. But the teachings of Master Lin, kind of like the heart wisdom is, no, find the words that are connecting. Find the words that are healing. Once I found, a whole lot of words I could use to that couple, I never saw them again. But guess what the healing was? Now I still have those loving, caring, thoughtful, compassionate words in me. I no longer really hold, my revenge words, my anger words, my I'll get you back words. And so then I have elevated, in one sense, myself to that higher level, to that, the heart wisdom airplane ride, where I'm seeing life down below. Oh, revenge isn't important, getting back at somebody, because I have these wonderful, loving words. So think about situations like that you've had, either maybe with your children, with your boss, with your partner, things in general about life, how they wound you. What's the vocabulary that you find yourself holding on to? Then learning how to let go of that vocabulary in order to find words, vocabulary, response. There's much more healing for you. So then you have that impact on others because of the words that you choose to use. Is it that simple? It's that simple when you practice it. When you get aware of the wounding, when you're getting aware of the kind of the revengeful thoughts or those kinds of things, it's like a little ding. It goes off and it says what? Oh, I got to find different words. Because the words I want to use are this, but really it's what? What's the best for my own health, for my own well-being? And the more I can stay there, the more I can access that set of vocabulary, so to speak, really I understand life. Oh, for example, that couple, they must have gone through so much pain in their life. Oh, their misery is just so profound. It's just controlling them. So if I can see it not from that lower level, I'll get back at you. But when I see it at that higher level, then I understand. I am more compassionate. I don't like what they did. I don't necessarily excuse what they did, but I have a what? I'm not living there in that. Now I'm at this richer understanding of human existence. And I can respond in a much more healing way rather than letting things fester and fester and fester. Then when I think of Master Lynn's, kind of the apple pie recipe, how can I do the best with his work, with his teachings? I can throw out, cinnamon. I think I'll throw in a couple of peaches in the apple pie recipe. I think I'll do everything different than what Master Lynn is teaching. That's fine. But you won't get the best apple pie. You'll get an apple pie, or apple peach pie, without cinnamon and without baby sugar, it doesn't even resemble an apple pie after all. So now you're in a whole different way of looking at life. That's just fine. However, Master Lynn has really a loving way, of connecting with everything. So the healing plan, how do you prepare yourself when things happen to you? So for me, I know how to meditate for a minute. I know how to do this a little quickly. I know how to come back to my lower dantian. I have activities and practices when things impact me, I can go back to. When the words coming forth are not that pleasant, I know how to find a different vocabulary, a lot easier than usual. So another little story or experience. A little while ago, I was talking to a friend I've known for a long time. She says, Glenn, when I first met you, you provided us and her family with some food. You made food for them. And she was a lot younger, of course, years ago. And she said, it always impressed me that you were focused on nourishment. So the food you gave us was the nourishment, in the form of that physical stuff going in the body and helping the body respond better. And then the liquids, then they felt refreshed. So she said, so it always impressed me to look at nourishment and refreshing yourself. So it doesn't always have to be what? Food. So again, as a therapist, I work with lots of people that get strung out. They get really, stress is what? So much is going on. So a lot of times when I talk with people, I say, you need to be a little more selfish. And people don't seem to like that word. They're good natured. They don't want to be selfish. But when I ask them to be, are you nourishing yourself? Are you refreshing yourself? They nod their head a whole lot differently. They realize because of the way they're living their life at that moment, they're not nourishing themselves. They're not refreshing themselves. So then they take a different take. Because to stay too low, and never nourish themselves, they get burned out, right? You get overwhelmed. So how do you keep nourishing yourself? How do you keep refreshing yourself? So I've, expanded that as I've thought about that situation. In places that you work, what kind of places have you worked where there was not much nourishment going on? There's not much refreshing going on. Was that a healthy place to work? Now, sometimes we all can get kind of trapped into a job that we need to stay with no matter what the events are. So now, the healing plan is what? When you're working in a place that's terrible, how can you take care of yourself? You may not change the boss or change the company, but always looking for company that has what? An emphasis on nourishment, and refreshing. And in fact, is there some way that you can then provide what? Nourishment and refreshment into that organization? It may not always be about bringing cookies, although that's nice. Chocolate chip cookies would be good, but it's other kinds of what? Nourishment as well. So finding the way that you can live in that nourishment in an organization, in your neighborhood, wherever you may go. So focusing on the body needs the physical nourishment, as well as that, other kind of nourishment. Another story, if I may. I suppose you can click off if you don't want me to. But the other story really is about a while ago. I was driving home from work and I had the radio on, and someone was being interviewed who was a nutritionist, an expert on nutrition. And they asked this person, is it bad to eat fast food? And this gentleman thought for a little while. He said, well, it really isn't bad to eat the fast food. It may not be the best. It's like good, better, and best. So it may not be the best. But the thing about eating fast food or eating it too often is it takes place or takes up space in your body. Let me bring this down a little bit. So it takes up space within your body. So eating the fast food, now it occupies this. And then he said, and then it doesn't have, then nutritious food doesn't have room to come into the body to actually, help your body even better. So it's not that the fast food is bad. It's that your action of filling your body with something that may not be as useful, like good, better, and best. Maybe fast food is good. It takes away the hunger pangs, or, it tastes good, or this is that. But it may be good enough, But so the idea of what? Having room inside you to eat food that's nutritious, not eating things that take up space that may not be as good for you as the better and the best. So then if you apply that to emotions in your body, what kind of emotions are taking up space in your body? Think of it a little bit. Now, this may not be a scientific conversation on that level, but I bet you all can think about times when what? You're preoccupied, or you're full of anger, or you're full of anxiety, or you're full of, you don't feel meaningful any longer. All those kinds of feelings. But if you think of them as, they're taking up space in my system, and I don't have room to bring in what? That loving gesture, that loving heart. So learning how to do what? Letting go of what was taking up space, what emotions are taking up too much space in our bodies, and trying to bring in that which brings us what? Better result, more nutritious emotions. Does that make sense? I'm looking at my notes to figure out where am I? I know you've been listening to this other guy. I hope you're learning from this other guy, but this interviewer is saying, what am I doing here? So here we go. The other little kind of story is I love the movements, the 5 element healings, because it's about vibration. And so let me give you a quick thing. So in my office, I've been in this specific office for 4 years now. In my office before that, I had a lot of plants in my office. I love growing plants. So here in this office, I have like 5 plants along the south wall. I have a couch where, 2 or more people can sit in, and 2 chairs that individuals can sit in. So the couch is closest to these 5 plants. And they're growing really well, just like always in my other offices, But there's 2 plants. One plant sits by the singular chair, and one plant sits real close to the couch. I said, for some reason, this one plant that sits the closest to the couch and to the door never grows. And I thought, well, maybe it's the soil. So I changed the soil. Didn't work. Oh, well, maybe it's the pot. Maybe there's a toxicity, the chemicals within that pot that puts, not good stuff in the plant and the plant dies. Maybe I'm overwatering the plant. I thought all of these things, the practical scientific things that make, how come that plant in that one location is not growing? Wonder if it's where I buy that plant from. So I bought a plant from some other store, I just noticed that one plant I bought from the other store after 4 years now, it too is starting to fade. And same as the other plant by my single, it doesn't grow as well. But these other 5 plants are growing really well. So investigators, what would be a thought that you had if you looked about vibration? People come into my office with really full of anger and hatred and all these vibrations, anxiety. So do these vibrations that people come into my office affect what? The growing plant that sits closest to that kind of energy. And the one other plant that sits a little further away from that, it kind of struggles. But the other 5 plants are far away from that vibration. They grow well. Same lighting, so to speak, same earth, same that, except what? These 2 plants, the one in particular, are exposed so directly to that negative, that vibration that's not healthy, the low, heavier vibration. They don't survive. So take a look at the vibrations in your life. So what's the antidote for anger? In that one opening movement. So what is the energetic focus on this? Is on that anger and anxiety energy. What's the antidote for that vibration? Happy. So it's not for the brain to say, oh, I feel happy now. Yep, everything's just hunky-dory. It's just great. Oh, no, it's not about the event. It's about what? The vibration. Tuning into vibrations, very important. So the words that I talked about with those people who kind of verbally assaulted me had what level of vibration? Heavy, really low. And what was my solution? I had to find what? Happier, healthier vibration. Does that make sense? So finding ways to have events or situations or memories, you don't have to remember the event as much as remember the vibration. So if you've only had one happy event in your whole life, go back to that one happy event and remember not so much the event, but the vibration with that event. That's all you need. So if you had one moment of your life when you felt life was meaningful, go back to not the time when you felt life was meaningful, but back to the vibration. So all those 5 movements, they provide you with what? Kind of like that antidote to that heavier emotions of overthinking and overworrying, all those things. So finding a way to come back to the vibration, to think about the vibration. So I can't not tell a little story about my almost 7-year-old granddaughter that I spent a lot of time with. She spent all day yesterday with me. And then she said, Papa, I tell all the kids in school that you're the funniest papa in the whole world. Now, I'm not sure that's, scientifically true. People might have an opinion about my funniness. But see, to her, it was like beautiful, right? So what can I remember? What she said or the vibration of that? So I could hold the vibration of, I'm the funniest papa in the world. I know that's not true, but I'm going to hold that vibration as if the vibration is true. So how do you come back to those vibrations? Does that make sense? So as you move from this place into the new year with a New Year's resolution, is there some way to find a way to connect to those vibrations activating the kindness, activating the vibrations that you wish to activate, and not staying stuck in the vibrations that are heavier and thicker. You can do that. Taste the apple pie recipe. Find the best way of doing something from Master Lynn's understanding. Find a way of developing that healing plan. So when things are happening to you, you have antidotes, you have solutions that you can utilize right away. Let go of the things that are bringing you down. Beautiful. Well, how about sitting still for a few minutes? Just a little bit of a closing meditation. So drop your shoulders. Remember to have the shoulders up, tension, kind of like a little bit of anger. Drop the shoulders. Slow your breath down. Close your eyes if you wish, keep them open. Bring your focus to your lower dantian. See a soft glow of light in your lower dantian. Then gently move that light, that ball of light, to the heart level, to the middle dantian. And then in your heart, in that light, in that beautiful light, feel the vibration of those words that we're talking about. The words that are not revengeful. The words that are not, bringing us down, so to speak, confining us. So in that heart, find the words of the loving words that you might have. An image might come to you. Oh, this person I'm still holding a grudge on. Oh, that person did something bad or cut me. I did, letting go of all those experiences now, finding words that you would rather use that are higher level vibration words. And then see that light in your heart go out to others. See, almost beams of light throughout the world. So anytime you can do what? Bring your focus to your heart. See that light. Send that light out to others. Feel that light inside you. So those of you that would like to meditate a little longer, and maybe think about, what words, so to speak, what vibrations are you holding on to? What would you like in your healing plan? How would you like to respond maybe differently? When the verbal assaults come your way, so to speak, finding the words, the different words, instead of the ones you're going to react to right away, finding words that are what? Words that actually your heart wants to say. So maybe take moments or two, stay in your meditation, just let that drift through you. And then others, you can bring your mind's focus back to your lower dantian. Bring that light inside you. And then feel inside you how much love that there is there from that higher level of that heart wisdom that the world is going on. And Master Lynn has taught you how to see this from a different perspective. So bring love to yourself, recognize love inside you, and know too that I love you. Thanks for listening.